and welcome to Red Clay This Month, the show that brings light to important educational issues that affect students at the Red Clay Consolidated School District in Wilmington, Delaware. I'm Judith Conway. I'm the Supervisor of Unified Arts here at Red Clay, and I'll be your host for this show. Now, on today's show, we're going to talk with 3 high school principals, some of my favorite people to talk to, and what we're going to talk about is career pathways that they offer at their schools. Now, you may know that each student in high school is required to decide on a career pathway and then to actually take courses in that pathway. It's an important decision for our students, and Red Clay strives to offer relevant and useful courses of study to our students. So first up is Kevin Pallidentti, who is the principal of AI High School. Please join me in welcoming Kevin. Oh, hey, Kevin, thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Sure. Now, we're talking about career pathways today. So can you tell us about what career pathways AI offers? And I want you to be sure to hit the new one too, the Academy of Finance.
Sure thing. We're very excited about the Academy of Finance. So AI Dupont High School, we are a comprehensive high school, and what that means is we're not a themed school. We don't have a particular focus aside from the core academics that all of our high schools offer. Our electives, our career pathways, they're pretty expansive. So a student could take communications technology, they could take CAD, which is computer-aided design. There's the culinary arts, there's business, there's accounting, there's banking, and the list kind of goes on and on from there.
And I don't want you to forget art and music.
Correct.
Because you know I represent those folks.
And you can't talk about AI High School without talking about the band as well. So that is also a career pathway for students as well. So this year, however, we implemented for the first year the Academy of Finance. The Academy of Finance kind of capitalizes on what we know are the needs and the interests within our student population. We had a heavy interest in our banking and in our accounting programs, so we looked at some options, and Department of Education had some grant opportunities. So after talking with the folks in the building, our CTE Supervisor Lou Mingione at the district office, we decided that it was worth going for the National Academy of Finance grant. We were successfully awarded that grant, and we are in the implementation phase now. The really neat thing about the Academy of Finance is students that are successful through this course in acquiring the business skills, the financial literacy skills, they complete the program with a certificate from the National Academy of Finance, and they are recognized by hundreds of businesses and financial institutions around the country. And that certificate actually carries a lot of weight. It's a phenomenal resume booster for the students, but it also gives them an inside edge on some job opportunities, some internship opportunities. The best example that I can give to that is we also have a credit union at AI Dupont High School that is a part of our banking pathway. Students can work within the credit union, but the partnership is with Franklin Mint Federal Credit Union, and that particular institution recognizes the Academy of Finance certificate as an advantage, and they look at those particular students or people that have completed the Academy of Finance pathway as some of their first interviewees. In fact, they guarantee they'll get an interview if they have that certificate. So it's all kind of blending together now. What's happening in the Academy of Finance is another step in that direction.
And that's based on the popularity of your banking and your finance.
Correct.
Oh,
in fact, we
excellent.
have 3 business teachers at AI Dupont High School right now, and they're all subscribed to the max. So we don't have anybody that's not teaching a full schedule of business or finance courses. So very popular at AI.
Oh, very interesting, very interesting. I guess being a more creative type, I'm kind of surprised that so many people are drawn to business, but I guess that's where the money is, right?
It's where the money is, it's the industry trends. I saw some statistics that said between 2012 and 2022, there were going to be 900,000 jobs in the business or finance sector. So I think kids are aware of that, families are aware of that, and kids are kind of being drawn into those types of professions. And also, they're oftentimes more lucrative types of professions. So.
Yeah. I guess part of the answer to how do you decide what pathways to offer is based on what kids seem to want. and looking
Right.
for more opportunities. As you said, that the finance and the banking was really popular, so what else can we find in that vein? And so is that all you look at, or?
In terms of pathways that we're going to offer?
Yeah, like new pathways to
Sure.
look at.
Okay. So, there isn't a single factor that we look at. Sometimes it is simple numbers. If the popularity of a course is there and, students are signing up for it, but we just don't have enough room to get them into it, we'll look at expansion options. And the reverse is true. If students aren't signing up for it, we have to reflect and figure out why is that. And it could be because, the trends have shifted in the industry and students just don't want to go into those professions anymore. Antiquated types of pathways that don't really apply anymore to 21st century skills. So, but then there's also the strategic plan. What is the mission and vision of the district? What is the superintendent hoping to accomplish with our high school students? The Department of Education, what is it that they're looking for through the CTE program? So we kind of have to just be aware of what's happening both in the building, in the district, and in the state. And that kind of helps point us in a direction of what pathways are we going to offer. But step one is clearly looking at the needs and the interests of the students within the school community.
And I guess you look at that too when you're looking to retire a pathway, perhaps.
Correct, and we have a recent example of that. Our clothing and textiles program, it was extremely popular for many, many years, decades. And then just over the last few years, it was a very popular teacher. The teacher retired and moved on, and the interest in the program started to wane a bit. And we just started looking at some other options, and those students that were once taking clothing and textiles are now taking marketing classes, they're taking the child development courses. So there's still options for them, but we've just adjusted where maybe some of those students are going to be taking their classes.
Yeah, so not to leave anybody high and dry.
Certainly not.
To keep them in an interest, but maybe if that one's waning, yeah, I can see that you can't keep everything.
It's hard. It becomes a staffing resource issue. You can't offer a pathway with only 10 to 12 kids that are interested. As much as we would want to give everybody something that they're interested in, there's 1,000 kids at AI High School, and we have to make sure that we're servicing them all, and class ratios are a part of that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I know you also do the College Academy.
We do.
At AI High School, which I found very exciting when you first started that. So can you give us an update? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
It's a little bit different than a career pathway. The Early College Academy is it's a unique partnership that we have with Wilmington University. And it begins at the freshman year. So basically it takes the dual enrollment concept, which are high school students taking college level courses in the high school setting, taught by the high school instructor. Successfully completing the course means you earn the college credit and you have a college transcript.
So I'm sorry to interrupt.
That's okay.
The partnership with Wilmington University, like you're teaching according to their syllabuses and stuff,
Correct.
Right?
We're teaching their courses on our campus. Our students that are successful in those courses, they earn 3 credits for Wilmington University, so they're generating a high school transcript and a college transcript simultaneously. So for us, there's a screening process to make sure that the students have the academic disposition to take those high rigor courses beginning in their freshman year. They're sequenced for 9 through 12, and they begin taking the dual enrollment college level courses, 2 in the freshman year, 2 in the sophomore year, 2 more in the junior year, and then we begin to accelerate and go into semesters by the senior year. Ultimately, students that are successful can finish with as many as 31 college credits.
Oh my goodness.
I know, it's pretty amazing. It makes them extremely competitive in the admissions landscape.
Absolutely,
and
absolutely. And think of this, the cost savings for parents.
Well, and
oh my gosh.
That is part of it.
I put 3 kids through college, and let me tell you what.
So Wilmington University has been a tremendous partner in this. And they've come to the table and said any student that wishes to continue on to their campus after completing their senior year at AI, they would offer a free bridge course in the summer, giving them as many as 33 credits, essentially allowing them to come onto their campus as a second year or sophomore. So we call that the senior to sophomore track, for students that want to continue on locally with Wilmington University. But really the ultimate goal behind it is to, one, prepare our students for the college environment and to make them competitive. When you have a high school senior that's applying for colleges and universities and they're giving you, good SAT scores, they're giving you extracurricular activities, and by the way, 31 college credits that are under their belt, that makes them pretty competitive, and we're hoping it's going to put them in the school of their choice.
Absolutely, and high scholarship probabilities as well.
That wouldn't hurt.
That wouldn't hurt at all.
So we're excited about the Early College Academy as well. It's we're in our 3rd year now.
I was just going to ask you, 3rd year.
We're in our 3rd year, and the students, they're phenomenal groups of students. It's neat to see cohort 1, cohort 2, and cohort 3. They all have different personalities, different makeups from one year to the next, but in general, they all really kind of mesh well together, and they're focused. They are very academically focused. So and they get the traditional high school experience too, which is pretty neat.
Yes. It can be academically, but socially and emotionally, you don't want them to miss.
No.
Like being on the baseball team, or going to the senior prom, or homecoming, like all of that stuff.
They still have all those opportunities, and they have access to the career pathways we talked about earlier. They have access to the advanced placement courses that we offer. So, with our block schedule and students taking 8 courses a year, there's 32 credit opportunities over 4 years of high school. They can fill their schedule with a variety of offerings, whether it be pathways, AP, or just some accelerated honors courses. There's a lot to offer.
Oh, excellent. Well, that sounds wonderful. And, you just can't hide that Tiger pride. It is just...
It's on display.
Yes, absolutely. Sure. All the time. All the time. Well, thank you so much, Kevin, for sharing that information with us. And we're going to take a short break now, but be sure to come back for our next guest.
Hello.
Hi. I'm from Blue Hood Stone Barns. We brought a meal for you, and I'm here to serve it to you.
Okay, great. Come in.
Zucchini carbonara, made from zucchini that was harvested earlier this morning.
Again?
Hey, Dan Barber.
You have room for a little bit more?
Come on in.
Brochettes with sausage. So when we made that zucchini carbonara, they're the end pieces of the zucchini, and they're the cores that we cut away, not to mention zucchini flower. Usually those get thrown out. We use them to create an entire second dish. Does that,
Again?
I'm here to bring you your 3rd course. It's the vines from your zucchini.
We'll have a little zucchini stem pasta, a different experience of zucchini. When we start to think differently about our food, we can get a lot more out of it.
This is delicious.
What do you think we can make out of this? 40% of food in America is never eaten. Cook it, store it, share it. Visit SaveTheFood.com.
Welcome back. Let's move into the world of science with Andy Vincent, the Assistant Principal of Conrad Schools of Science. Join me in welcoming Andy. Oh, hey, Andy. I'm so glad you're here.
Hi, Judith. It's great to be here.
Oh, good, good, good. Well, we've been talking about career pathways. So, can you, I know Conrad Schools of Science obviously is all about sciences.
Yes, indeed.
Can you talk a little bit about your new pathway, the Nurse Assistant Pathway?
I can do that, yes. We have 6 pathways at Conrad, and nursing assistance is one of the 6. It's our most recently tweaked pathway. We have 3 different courses within the pathway. You take an intro to healthcare class in 9th grade to determine your interests, and then your pathway is selected for your next 3 years. And it's basically nursing 1, 2, and 3. Students will have some classroom work on biology and physiology and anatomy. And ultimately, they're working toward their senior year where they go out into a nursing care facility and learn to care for patients.
Oh, actually in the facility, so like an internship kind of thing?
Exactly. They get on a bus at 7:30 in the morning and they go to the Brandywine Nursing Home. They care for patients. They're monitored by 2 registered nurses, one their instructor and the other a nurse from our school. And they're learning to give patients in the facility so that at the end of the program, many want to go on and be RNs or LPNs and so on, but at the end of the program you can pass the Certified Nursing Assistant certificate program and take that with you. Some of our students that graduate are CNAs while they're going to school at Del Tech or Wilmington U to be nurses.
Oh, excellent. So they've got a good, stable job in a field they love and can be taking college courses at the same time.
Exactly.
Ah.
Exactly. And we've been pretty successful in having students pass the exam. So far, I think 100% of our students have passed the CNA exam, and a number of them are working in that field.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's excellent. Excellent. You said that was newly tweaked, so I guess you've had it for a while and
We've
then
had
just adjusted it a little bit.
We've had it for a while, but we worked with the district folks and the DOE folks and also the Division of Public Health, because it is a health-related program, to make sure that everything was properly tweaked. We've cut back actually on the amount of classwork in the school time so that students didn't have to double dip and tie up parts of their schedule where they could have taken other electives as well. Mm-hmm. And they're really enjoying that.
Oh, excellent, excellent. And you know, I just really love it when like all the stars align, that we really thought things through and kids end up with that certificate. You know, we were just talking to Kevin about the Academy of Finance certificate, and so, you know, they really leave with something that is career ready. Not that they still can't go to college, but that they've got that certificate, they've got that a recognition, that verification. Yes, you do know what you're doing.
Exactly. Since we were established as a magnet 11 years ago now,
I was thinking it was 10.
We're in our 11th year now.
Oh.
This is actually, I've been there since day one. And this is our 11th year. We celebrated 10 years last year, which was an awesome thing for the school. Since its development as a biotechnology and allied health career magnet, Conrad has looked to these CTE career pathway courses to make sure that they're aligned not only with the local economy, but also with national economy as well. And there's nothing that's growing faster in this country than allied health and biotechnology.
Absolutely, absolutely. I can't agree more. So this program really fits into the others that are offered there. Like this is a nurse assistant. What others do you have in that?
Well, we have 5 others. We have biotechnology, students that might be interested in developing ways to make cheaper, better gasoline out of corn or other plants rather than fossil fuels. That's just one example of biotechnology. We have a biomed program for students who are interested in becoming physicians after they go to college, and another 5 years of college and to get that credential. We've got physical therapy and health assistance programs. A number of our students, unfortunately, they'll get injured on the playing fields, get a knee injury, visit physical therapy, and then say, well, that's the best thing I've ever seen. I want to be a physical therapist as well. So our PT and allied health career pathway attracts those kind of students who might want to be a physical trainer for an athletic team or a physical therapist or an occupational therapist. We have a vet science program. We recently, in the last 2 years, have put up a barn and a greenhouse.
I heard about that. I have not gotten over to see where they are. I've been in and out of the building, but not to see where the barn and the greenhouse are.
It is nestled between 2 wings of the building, and interestingly, when you walk down the hallway at class change and you look out a certain window, you can see goats and pigs and ducks, and I think there might even be a llama down there. I'm not sure.
Oh my goodness! I thought you were going to be talking about dogs and cats, but no,
these
real
are large
agriculturals,
animals.
Yeah.
The smaller animals are in a classroom that the CTE pathway for vet tech uses. There are ferrets and snakes and rabbits and cats and a couple of dogs as well. So we've got quite the menagerie over
Really?
Conrad.
Do they live there all the time, or they come in and out?
They live there full time. Now, spring break, winter break, and summertime, you will see parents driving up and volunteering with their child to take home a pet, or not a pet, but one of our animals from the program in a cage, and then they'll come back at the end of spring break and the ferret returns.
Yeah, I've been on the receiving end of that. but
it's
mine
always
was luckily just goldfish.
Okay, that's a good move. We've got a computer science pathway as well. That's relatively recent. Josh Farside is our computer science instructor and does a great job with that. Certainly there's been an emphasis from the superintendent and from local entrepreneurs to do some things with coding in students. So our computer science pathway is something that we've developed in the last 3 years to address that need.
Not many people know this, but I used to teach computer science.
Okay.
AP computer science. Now it feels like in another lifetime, but so I recognize the importance of that for sure. And you know, a lot of our libraries are doing, at least on the elementary level, are doing the hour of code, teaching kids to do Scratch and teaching kids to do Scratch as a programming language, so not just Scratch. And working with Makey-Makeys, they're called, and Little Bits, and programming little robots that look like bumblebees, you know, to run a maze and things like that, to get them sort of thinking that logical progression kind of thinking that you need for computer science.
I think many parents wouldn't recognize what the inside of a school looks like now. Every student in our school, almost 1,200 of them, have a Chromebook now. Each and every one has been issued a Chromebook. They've got them in their hands. The teachers are using Schoology and Google and all kinds of technological advances to make education something that students in the year 2017 can relate to, because many of them are walking around with a digital device in their hand throughout the day from home. Now we're giving them a digital device that connects them to other students in other countries and all of the things that the internet and different places can bring to them in the classroom.
Absolutely, and you know, thinking of science and anatomy, as so many of your bio things are in that healthcare kind of realm, just the wonderful things that visualizations that you can see online that relate to the circulatory system, the way muscles work, et cetera, that you know you just wouldn't have access to any other way.
We can virtually dissect the frog, where when I was in high school I had to physically dissect the frog.
And, oh, didn't that smell bad?
It
did.
Oh,
me too.
Now we still, in our pathway, we still have students who will take a field trip to the cadaver lab at the University of Delaware. Those in the physical therapy pathway need to go in, and they sign up ahead of time and they're told what they're going to see, but they go into the University of Delaware cadaver lab to further their knowledge of physiology and anatomy. It's an awesome field trip and something that technology can help you recreate, but we still jump on a bus and
go. Hands-on is still, and the whole idea of that thing that you can't get from technology, like these nurse assistance programs, going in and like it's different when you're dealing with a real person, and you know, this woman or man, you know, is a living, breathing person who's talking back to you and asking you questions, and you're brightening their day. And
their eyes do brighten when they see our high school students come out and help them. These are folks in a nursing home. It's somebody's mom or dad
Right.
that is in a nursing home for some deep end medical care. And our students have to tread a fine line with HIPAA laws and other things that they learn about in class as to what they can and can't share and so on, so that they're doing things in a respectful, professional way. But they do add a certain youthful flair to it that the patients, you'll see their eyes light up when our bus drives up.
Absolutely.
There's no question.
Absolutely. Yeah, no question about it. I know a lot of those kids over at Conrad, and they're pretty special. Pretty
They're
special.
awesome.
They are awesome. Well, thanks, Andy. I'm so glad that you were here to share this information with us. And as we well knew that the Conrad Red Wolves, it's hard to say, Red Wolves.
We are the Red Wolves.
Providing students with some really awesome science experiences. Thank you.
Judith, thanks for having me out. I appreciate it.
Oh, sure, sure, sure. Well, you all please stay tuned for our next guest as we continue to explore today's topic.
Let me tell you about the toughest guy on earth. He does the work of 2 jobs, but only gets paid for one. He's tough enough to feed the man that gave him a lifetime of nourishment. He has the crazy strength to lift the man that raised him up without even flinching. That's right, no employee of the month bonus check here. This guy, no. This warrior will always be by his father's side, even if his dad will hardly remember. Good luck finding a gym to train for that. If this guy isn't the toughest guy on the planet, then I don't know who is. Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving.
Welcome back. Next up is one of our favorite Highlanders from McKean High School, Principal Brian Mattix. Please join me in welcoming Brian. Oh, hey, Brian.
Hi, Judith. How are you?
I am great. How about yourself?
I'm just wonderful. Thank you.
Oh, good, good, good. Thanks so
great.
much for coming on the show.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Excellent, excellent. Now, I'm really excited to talk to you because I know McKean has undergone some changes.
We have.
And especially in the field of career readiness.
Without
and
a
so,
doubt.
can you talk about that for us?
Yeah. So McKean has taken a shift, and it's really a career college readiness. So what we've been trying to do is we've been looking at the labor markets. We're trying to make our students marketable for post-high school opportunities. And so that's why that college piece is there, because that's certainly a part of post-high school opportunities for our students. But McKean has really taken on an emphasis on our vocational programs, and we'd like to put ourselves in the market of competing with all the VOTEC schools across the state. And we've invested in each of our individual pathways. We now have 10 traditional solid pathways with some creative outside the box pathways in addition. So over 13 pathways when you count them all up. But
Oh, nice. So that's real choice for
a lot of
kids.
choice, a lot of opportunities. Within each of those pathways, sometimes where the student wants to end up requires a 4-year degree. Sometimes it requires just 2-year degree. Sometimes it requires an internship or an 18-month program, something to that effect. So depending on where the student wants to project their career path would be how we direct them through their coursework. So what we offer at McKean is as I said, over 13 career pathway options and 20 college AP, dual enrollment, honors program kind of courses for our students that are tracking for the 4-year or 4-year beyond type of post-high school opportunities.
Excellent. So it's kind of like the best of both worlds. You've got some real college pathways, you've got some career pathways, and you've got some that are kind of in the middle that you can get a real taste of whether you're going to like what you think you want to do, because let's face it, these kids are pretty young.
They're still young. A lot of my 9th grade parents, as I've been meeting with them, they, you know, oh my gosh, they're not really sure what they want to do. It's fine. They don't need to be sure. What they do need to do is they need to try. No matter where, that's what I always tell students, whether I'm speaking in front of student athletes or if I'm speaking in front of our 12th graders or our 9th graders or even students from other schools. We learn by trying new experiences from our failures. We have to experience things, we have to not succeed for us to figure out how to do it the best way. So maybe I don't want to have my own restaurant, but doesn't mean that you're not going to learn a lot if you're in our culinary program.
Everybody has to learn to cook. You know, that might get them through college. Being able to feed themselves.
Maybe a little bit more than ramen noodles, absolutely.
That's right, that's right. Or, you know, working part-time as in a kitchen somewhere.
Without a doubt. And what we've found is a lot of our students have a strong interest in working while they're still in high school. So trying to help get them into a job immediately so they can make some money, maybe help support their family while they're taking classes, and then they get a taste of that career field. And maybe that's what they want to stay in, or maybe they realize that's what they need to do to make money right now, but long term they'd like to do something else. But you only know that by immersing yourself in something. And that's what we try to do, is offer these programs that really challenge our students, offer experiences way beyond the walls of our school. One of the enhancements that we took on from last year to this year is adding a component to each of our pathways for work-based experiences. Work-based experiences could be a paid co-op. It could be an unpaid internship. It could be job shadowing. It could be having somebody from industry coming in and just being a guest speaker in our class. But all of those give our students a taste of what work is like beyond the walls of McKean. So that work-based experience is something that at the state level they're encouraging for all schools. But we really were excited at McKean to enhance our pathways as that becomes an expectation. So our goal this year was to get 20 students, 2 from each of our traditional pathways, to try to get them involved in co-op opportunities. And right now we are on track to possibly not just succeed with that goal, but overcome that goal. We think we're gonna
really.
Yeah, we got a lot of students already.
Highlanders are always been overachievers, for sure.
We're trying. We're trying. So it's really exciting. So that's the outside of the building experience. Inside of the building, each of those 10 traditional pathways has a component where there's a student-run business. So right away, as they come into level 1, they understand the ins and outs of this career that they're starting, and they get the basics and the foundation. They also get opportunities to participate in running a business. So great simple examples are, we have a preschool program. So our students in our pre-K teacher academy have the ability to actually work in a preschool here in the building and work with 3- and 4-year-olds. It's very powerful. Our Highlander Cafe is open for business for lunches, and we do catering. So giving our students exposure to a business gets them ready for those work-based experiences, talking about those co-ops, and really on the jobs.
So they know what to expect, because I'll tell you, one of the things that impresses me so much about this is the fact that, like, there's a certain environment in a school and a certain climate. And I know from having been around here that it's a very caring environment. You know, if you mess up, we're going to help you because we know you're just learning. And so let's, I heard a term this summer called fail forward.
Yes.
It's when you make a mistake, you say, oh, well, why did I make that mistake? What, you know, what was that mistake about? When I go forward, I know what to do a little better now because of that mistake. And I know that's very supportive this way here. And out in the real world, you know, sometimes it's not so supportive. There's different cultural norms and different expectations. And so I love it when kids get to see outside their own world that they've grown up in, that things are different in other places, and there are different expectations and different social norms. And in order to be looked upon favorably, you do certain things and you don't do other things, and I think that really helps them shape their ideas about what kind of a person they're going to be and how they are going to behave and be successful in different environments.
Without a doubt. I think giving them exposure to that is huge. Understanding that the mistakes that we make in a classroom are going to be viewed quite differently by outsiders in the real world, as you say. And that's a big thing that we talk about when we're dealing with students in the year 3 or year 4 of their pathway. When they're at that level, when they're ready to go out for those co-ops, that's a lot of the conversations, because they are usually leading the student-run business, so they're the face of the student-run business here. And if they're going out into the community and working, they're certainly the face of our program out in the community. And so we only want to recommend students that meet certain criteria to get those experiences. But we're really excited about where we're driving with all of our programs and our opportunities. In order to make all of those things come to fruition, we've been working really hard. Our teachers have been building some great bridges and partnerships with the business community. And that's essential, because
I agree.
Those
Essential.
business partnerships will help support our program, maybe with just coming in to speak and talk about things that they have at their business. Maybe as we're running our student-run business, they want to support our student-run business, and we can have co-businesses together.
Give some advice in terms of, well, in order to really look professional, this needs to change, or
without a doubt.
You know, just, you know, this is how you interact with a customer. This is what's really important.
And ultimately, the goal of business partnerships is that they would hire our students.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so, you know, our motto and our vision here at McKean is jobs today and careers tomorrow. And creating those opportunities, you know, we are blessed that we run a preschool here in our building, and so students can put that on their resume that they worked in a preschool. But our partnership with the Western Y, they're looking for our students to be employees over at the Western Y, because they run summer programs, before programs, after school programs, and full day preschool programs. And so they're always in the market, and they have been pleased with the products that we're producing, our graduates. And so, you know, through word of mouth, we're creating some interest in the community. Our culinary program has developed a great partnership with Center Plate, that's an organization that runs the catering service at the Blue Rock Stadium.
Oh,
and
really?
So our students during May get to go, April and May, we do school day games, and our culinary students work the concession stands. And we usually employ several of our students over the summer. Center Plate will look at the best of our students and then look to give them jobs. And partnerships like that are just what opens the eyes and the doors for our students. This fall is very busy with a lot of environmental things, and so our students are doing things with Coverdale Farms and the Delaware Nature Society, and we have a strong partnership with Ramsey Farms. And what that does is it gives our kids a chance to take field trips to those places. They host lots of fall events over at Coverdale, and so we can be part of their fall festival and and be just volunteers at things like that. And they gain because they get some help from us, and we gain because
There's nothing like that.
without a doubt. I mean, it's math and arithmetic and we want to go beyond that. What work experiences do is it puts all of that into context.
That's right.
The students
It's what you do
immediately
with the
recognize that that's why I need these reading skills. That's where the math skills are going to come into play. That's what I'm learning in this pathway. So the pathway class is often the hook and the reason what really motivates the kid to come to class and come to school and get all the rest of what they need to be holistic.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Well, it sounds like you have some really interesting programs. And so has there been, what's the student response and the parent response been to this new focus?
We have at least 20 new choice applications this year than the previous year with the specific interest in our vocational pathways.
Oh, and that's only going to grow.
We were so thrilled with that. We hosted a special spring open house. We had a great turnout and high interest from that, and then the applications just started to come in after that open house. And it's certainly thrilling to us. We're proud that we know we have a good product to sell here. We do a good service for our students, and it's just reaffirming to have families respond that way, put their trust in us, and really get excited. So having kids, choose from other districts or from other schools and say, this is where I want to go because I want to be a part of that. I want to be on Ed TV. I want to work on Edge Radio. I want to be working with those programs because I can see the opportunities that they can get us. I mean, our audio radio technology program is a great partnership with Rick Jensen and WDEL, and so the kids get to see him because he's coming into their class all the time, and so he's a local personality that's doing great things for our community, and our kids can start to aspire and associate with. I do a couple jobs volunteering with them, and who knows, maybe it'll turn into a paid opportunity.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, thank you, Brian. It is really good to know that, like any good high school, that McKean is adjusting to meet the needs of today's students and giving them wonderful, wonderful opportunities. Absolutely.
Thank you.
So we're going to take a short break now, but be sure to come back for our next segment.
Hey, let's check out this park. Oh, wow, that's really cool. To find a great local park or forest near you, go to discovertheforest.org.
Next up, we have our new segment where we introduce you to some of the Red Clay School Board. I hope you find this as interesting to watch as I did. Welcome to our new segment, Meet a School Board Member. I'm Dr. Judith Conway, and I'm the Supervisor of Unified Arts here at Red Clay, and today I will be interviewing School Board Member Mr. Ken Woods. He represents Election District D and is the board representative for the Facilities Committee. Welcome, Ken.
Thank you.
Listen, it takes, sometimes people don't realize this, that school board members are volunteer positions. And I mean, it is a huge time commitment. What drew you to being a school board member?
Well, let's see. Well, public service kind of comes natural to me. My family, my father was a politician, county councilman. And,
oh.
He also represented the labor union that I belonged to. And in that capacity, it's always trying to help people better themselves. So, just looking at where I wanted to do or what I wanted to do in public service, I kind of think I wasn't sure which way I kind of wanted to head in that. So, but I knew I wanted to do something. Mm-hmm. So some people had approached me. I'd been showing up at meetings, and someone had approached me and said, you should think about, school board. So Red Clay at that time was going through a financial, I don't want to say meltdown, but they were having some financial issues, and that was back in 2007, 2008 area, which was when I got on the board. And
oh, right,
so
right then at the recession time.
Right then, yeah. So they had just started the CFRC, and
that's the Community
Financial Review Committee. And so at that time, I decided that I was going to run. The person that held the seat that I was in had been there since the formulation of Red Clay, which was, I think, in '82. I'm not positive on that.
That's what I think, 81 or 82, yeah,
82.
for sure.
So I ran, and I think at that time the board needed some change. It was just the way it was at that time. So I got on, and a few of us started questioning things a little bit differently. And at that time, in my former job, one of the things that I did was looked at prevailing wage work, and mainly school, state facilities and that kind of stuff, and how work was getting done. And I kept seeing things going over budget, change orders, just a lot of different things that were going on. And that's the area that I work in construction. So after reviewing a lot of schools, I did some schools downstate where there was 2 identical buildings, and I saw one building went over the cost and the other one was under budget. So it was very interesting to me to figure out, well, how did this happen? They're the same identical buildings, just different contractors. So got involved in that a lot more, and once I got on the board, that was one of the things that I wanted to bring up, was we had done the referendum prior to me getting on the board, which was I'm not positive on the year and the amount, but we went, a lot of the projects that were scheduled couldn't be done because the money ran out. So that was the biggest thing when we were getting ready to go to referendum again. We wanted to make sure that anything that we were doing with that money was done, and hopefully have some savings to do some of the other things that needed to be done that weren't part of this plan, because there's always work that needs to be done in our buildings.
Oh, yeah. Some of our buildings are 80 years old.
And that's it. And it's fun, you go downstate and they build brand new schools whenever they need something, but up here we typically finish a building and retrofit it. So it's hard to close a building down, and where are you going to put the students, because we're always at capacities.
Right, right.
So we looked at it, and we decided to come up with a facilities committee, and the facilities committee to oversee and watch what was going on with our budget, so our construction budget. So,
and we've done some shows on Red Clay this month that deal specifically with construction. So I know you've been very successful, because we've had folks on talking about how they were under budget, or they were on budget and on time, or because there was a little extra, they could also
do a few other projects.
Right. Upgrade the windows in that building, or put on some new doors, and that's always good.
That was it. Our security was a big deal. I mean, we wanted to make sure the buildings were secure for the students. You see, there's lots of issues going on in other states, and Red Clay is, fortunately, we have a good administrative staff here. They are always trying to be on the forefront of stuff. I think we lead a lot of the things that go on here in the state of Delaware when it comes to security, and just from the taping of our board meetings, we were one of the first to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's funny when I go to I used to be on the DSBA, or it's just the Delaware School Boards Association's legislative committee for Red Clay, and when I go down to those meetings in Dover, you would hear the other districts, talking about a lot of unfunded mandates that the state puts on, and a lot of that stuff we've already been doing in Red Clay. So it's just funny when they talk about, we don't want to, this mandate about taping our meetings, and I went, simple. It's just you set up a microphone and you record it, you know. And they were making big deals out of stuff that we'd been doing for years. So
Gotcha.
It's great that Red Clay is always on top of that. So.
Now, a school board can play lots of different roles. Where do you see a school board member really having the most impact?
Well, I think some school board members think that we should micromanage the districts, and I don't agree with that. I think that you know, we should be involved as much as we can, but we hire leaders to run the district. We have to make sure those leaders are just following the priorities and the goals that we have set. In Red Clay, we have a good leader in Merv. He has a great staff right below him that, you know, continues to improve on things that we want, you know, as a board. But myself, you know, when a board member comes on, they typically think they know it all. I did too. But when you get on the board, it's definitely very interesting to find out that the things that you thought were done a certain way aren't. Especially when it comes to finances. I mean, you have state funding, you have federal funding, and then you have federal funding for this grant that can only be used here, and you know, it's not one big pot of money that we can do this, this, and this, and a lot of people don't understand that.
Right.
And you know, my first year I served on the CFRC just to get an understanding of the finances better, and that was great for me to learn the financial part of it, especially going into what could be spent and how formulas are done for building new schools or retrofitting or any of that kind of stuff when it comes to the dollars. And my specialty in construction brought a good area of that, and in labor law. I'm very familiar with the handling of the, even though I deal with more construction labor versus public sector type of labor. It was good to have that interaction a little bit more to understand their side. But as a labor leader, I sit on a board that has to negotiate with that other entity. So I see both sides. It was a little different. But I brought that to the board. I brought I think the construction specialties that I do, I think helped understand some things. I know administration would call and ask questions that I could answer, and that to me was a good fit.
Right. Back to your public service idea that you had a lot to offer in those areas, and it's something that, of course, school districts have to deal with all the time, just like you do when you're a homeowner. You know, the roof starts to leak, or
gotta know who to call.
That's right. You know, plumbing goes. You need a new furnace, and all that stuff.
That's a really good point, and you know, even being on a school board, you try not to make it a political thing, but it becomes political in a lot of senses. And when you're dealing with state and local officials, you have to know how to talk to them. It's you know, there's a lot of egos in people that run for public office, and you know, why wasn't I called first, or why did you call him? You got to know how to get through that little landmine there, or field of mine. So. That was one of the things, that was very helpful to others. I tried to tell them, hey, this is, certain ways you have to handle certain people. So that came in handy. And teaching other board members how, it's not always, well, why aren't they doing this in Dover? Well, there's a long story to it,
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not, you want it to be right versus wrong, but that's not how it's played down there, and unfortunately you have to get through that. So, so that's just another area. I mean, there's, it's funny when you talk about it. When you talk about these things, you don't realize how much you had influence on different things that you do.
Right. So in terms of passionate, what would you say? Are there any issues that you're really passionate about?
Well, I think the biggest thing was making our school environments inviting. And Merv, that was one of Merv's big things, and it was definitely one of mine. When you used to walk into some of our buildings, it just didn't it didn't feel like a learning institution. It didn't feel like you wanted to be there. And I
like
think
welcoming,
bright colors. I think that that's the kind of thing that brings me into a building. When I go to a new facility that's built, you see usually they're using different colors. They're not using, colors that kind of make you want to fall asleep.
Right, that
So-
old institutional gray or beige or green.
So that and, even furniture that we've bought for schools. I know at Cook Elementary when we built that, they were trying, I've seen these giant exercise balls that they use, and they've made chairs for them, and they say that when children are sitting on those, they kind of tend to sit up straight, and it keeps them a little fresh in the morning.
Right. In the libraries, we're really working on that to re-envision the libraries in light of 21st century skills and future ready, and that's one of the things we're looking at is we have looked at different kinds of chairs. So we have the ball chairs. There are these things called buoy chairs that they behave just like a buoy would, that kids can move around on it.
Right.
And for elementary kids, if you can get them to stay in their seat but they can get the wiggles out.
Exactly. And
exactly.
it's funny. It's just like cell phones today. I went to a conference out in the Midwest, and one of the things I learned, the organization I work for has apprenticeships, so we have a lot of younger kids, 18 to 20, and today, when I started in the work environment, nobody had a phone. Barely even had pagers, I think. Probably most people watching this won't even know what a pager was. But even in the phone, I've saw in certain classrooms that I've gone into in the past, kids will be, text messaging or doing whatever with their phone, and you think they're not listening to you, but they seem to pay attention a little differently than we did as children. They take those phones and they'll be typing the whole time, not even paying attention to you, but you'll turn around and ask them a question, they'll look up and answer the question, like it was, like they heard everything that was going on. So I've learned that, learning environments have changed. Even in the digital age, we now have the iPads.
Yes, we do, and the Chromebooks.
And those are things that, that's a big part of technology. I was very big into technology when I started in school, and I remember when I went to former Wilmington High, we started out with the Apple IIe. Gosh,
yes.
We go back a long time ago. So that was a real neat experience for me back then. And now I look today at what we have, right to this studio right here. And back then I remember we had some things like this, but they weren't as sophisticated as what we have today. So,
right.
And, that's the big thing. I think technology, making sure that our schools are safe and secure.
Right, I was going to say that safe and
and
security that you talked about before.
But the equity too, all of our schools in Red Clay get the same treatment, and certain buildings need more resources than other buildings, and that's a big challenge, especially with the state formulas that we use. It's unfortunate that certain things are done that way. I always said if we just let teachers teach again, and get away from a lot of the testing and a lot of the stuff that we've been doing, that's how children learn, from that person in that room. And there can be a million studies and it doesn't mean that that's right. And that's, I know it's a lot probably more efficient today with some of the studies that are done, but I just would like to see let our teachers just teach. And but guidelines that are there, unfortunately, this is the world we live in today. So. But those are the biggest issues, is just making sure that every child has the same opportunity.
Excellent. Well, Ken, thank you so much for joining us today, and I'm sure our listeners really appreciate being able to get to know you a little better and know that your thoughtful comments and your evidence of real deep thinking and critical thinking are representing us well on the school board. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank all of our guests today for taking time out of their busy schedule to be with us. Thank you for tuning into Red Clay this month. I hope to see you next month.